Heartwarming transformation, billionaire discovers incredible truth behind 3 kicked-out triplets. Jack Thornton leaned back in his leather chair, the view from his penthouse office overlooking Maple Grove a stark contrast to the small-town life he once cherished. Golden leaves danced in the brisk autumn breeze, and laughter echoed from the park below. Yet, the sound felt like a distant memory. Surrounded by Rich's expensive suits, a sprawling estate, and an impressive yacht, Jack felt a hollow ache in his chest. The values he had once held dear seemed buried beneath layers of wealth. It was one quiet afternoon when whispers of 3 triplet siblings, Mia, Daniel, and Lily, sliced through his emptiness like a bolt of lightning. They had been unfairly evicted from their home after their mother fell gravely ill. The thought of these kids, just trying to survive in an abandoned warehouse, stirred something deep within him. As he listened, he felt the pull of family and community tugging at the tight strings of his forgotten past. Exploring the tidbit of their story ignited a fire in his heart. He drove to the warehouse, an imposing space tucked away in the town's outskirts. Ghostly shadows clung to the walls, but as he stepped inside, he found the triplets living with an extraordinary sense of resilience. They had made their home among discarded items, crafting a hidden sanctuary from the world outside. Mia, with fiery determination in her eyes, commanded the space with an easy confidence that both amazed and terrified him. Jack was struck. These kids, so young, yet so brave, served as a mirror reflecting everything he had once aspired to be. Each shared laughter and whispered promise between them echoed the values of unity and hope he had once lost. The palpable bond reminded him of his childhood, where neighbors helped one another as if they were family. Yet, he felt shame begin to creep in. Was he now so far removed that he couldn't even recognize his roots? The town's whispers grew darker as his investigation deepened. Some residents frowned upon the triplets' plight, choosing to ignore their struggles. Who were they to help? Suddenly, he found himself standing at a crossroads. Should he leverage his status and wealth to protect these children or retreat behind his fortress of wealth and comfort? As if the universe heard his internal struggle, the local authorities descended to issue a notice to vacate. Tension thickened in the air as the kids' faces paled. Jack watched helplessly as Mia stepped forward, her voice steady and resilient. "We're not just statistics. We're family," she cried, igniting something within Jack that he thought had long faded. This wasn't just about the triplets anymore, it was about the man he no longer recognized. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jack stepped forward, the decision weighing heavily on his chest. Would he risk everything for these 3 triplets? The moment hung suspended in the air, filled with the chance for change. Just as he opened his mouth to speak, the crowd gasped, shifting their eyes. A figure approached from the distance, and Jack's world began to unravel before his eyes, leaving him teetering on the edge of an uncertain future. Would he embrace this newfound empathy? Or would he slip back into the shadows of his opulent isolation? Jack's heart raced as he turned to face the figure emerging from the crowd. It was a local politician, a man whose name was synonymous with corruption and neglect. His presence marked a new layer of tension in the air, a chill that crept into every corner of the warehouse. Jack squinted, trying to read the politician's expression. Was it cold indifference or a calculating smile? The crowd parted, murmurs spreading like wildfire. Jack felt the weight of their stares, curiosity mixed with skepticism. The triplets stood beside him, their young faces betraying a mixture of fear and defiance. Mia, ever the beacon of strength, clenched her fists, ready to fight not just for their home but for their very existence. "We've heard all the stories," the politician called out, his voice booming through the dim space. "But how can these children expect help when they can't even look after themselves? They've chosen to live here, and this is a prime example of poor decisions leading to their predicament." Jack felt a surge of anger rise in him. How dare he dismiss their hardship so casually? These kids had not chosen this life, the world had forced it upon them. Without thinking, Jack stepped forward, adrenaline coursing through him. "You're wrong," he shouted, cutting through the politician's condescending tone. "They didn't choose this. They're survivors. I've seen their resilience." The crowd shifted uneasily, some nodding, some crossing their arms, unsure of whom to support. Jack locked eyes with Mia, searching for the strength he hoped would radiate into his own resolve. And there it was, something greater than himself. He took a deep breath, steeling himself. "I will help them. I'll do whatever it takes." The words spilled from his lips, loud and firm, echoing in the hollow space around them. The politician smirked, but there was a tremor beneath his arrogance. "You? A billionaire? What do you know about their struggles, really?" Jack stared back, refusing to be intimidated. "More than you think. I know what it feels like to be alone and misunderstood. If these kids are looking for someone to stand up for them, I will be that person." A wave of murmurs rolled through the crowd again, a mix of surprise and quiet hope. The triplets looked up, their faces lighting up with cautious anticipation. For the first time in a long while, Jack felt the warmth of community blossoming around him, pulling him from the cold isolation he had draped over himself like a cloak. As the crowd's reactions wavered from doubt to curiosity, a small voice broke through the noise. It was Daniel, the quiet but clever triplet. "But what if you fail? What if they kick us out anyway?" Jack felt his heart tighten, realization dawning like the sun breaking through clouds. "Then I'll stand with you, and we'll figure it out together. I won't give up." With those words, he realized that this battle was not just about the triplets. They had sparked a fire in him that had long been extinguished. He had a chance to rediscover who he was and what he stood for. But just then, a different voice cut through the air, sharper and more jarring. "You really think you can save them, don't you?" It was a loud, mocking laughter from the back of the crowd, a familiar face emerging, Jason, one of the wealthiest men in town, and an old rival of Jack's. Jack felt his pulse quicken again. Who would this man support? And what would his intentions mean for his fight? As the tension thickened, Jack wondered if he was ready to confront not just the crowd, but the tangled web of his past. Would he be able to turn the tide in this fight for the triplets? Or was he about to step into the fray of battles he had long left behind? The stakes couldn't feel higher. As he prepared to stand his ground, the question loomed: could he truly reclaim his identity and fight for what's right when everything was on the line? "Here we go again," Jason smirked, stepping into the light. The crowd shifted, some leaning closer, eager for drama. Others glanced at Jack, measuring his resolve. "You really believe you can make a difference?" Jason continued, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "What's next? A charity gala? A flashy new initiative? Because let's be honest, that's your usual style, isn't it?" Jack clenched his jaw, fighting back his frustration. He had always known Jason could twist words into daggers, and now wasn't the time to let anger cloud his purpose. He took a deep breath, grounding himself in the moment. "I'm not here to play games," Jack replied, his tone steady. "I'm here to protect these kids. They deserve a voice, my voice, especially against people like you." Amid the crowd, murmurs intensified. Some people exchanged glances, recognizing the truth. Others still sat in doubt, but Jack felt a flicker of support bolstering his courage. Jason's laughter echoed through the warehouse, cold and dismissive. "You think you can save them? You think you can step in and change everything with your money and charm? Just look around, this is reality. They're up against years of neglect and abuse." "Reality can change," Jack retorted, the urge to defend the triplets surging once more. "You don't see them like I do. They are fighting every single day to maintain what little they have. They've faced more than you could ever imagine." From the corner of his eye, he saw Mia take a step forward, her small hands now clenched into fists. Her spirit reminded him of the fire they were all fighting for. He turned back to Jason, emotions flashing behind his stern gaze. You may see them as a statistic, but I see resilience. I see a future. If you can't understand that, then maybe you're the real problem here. Jason's expression darkened, a flicker of surprise at Jack's unexpected boldness. You think your past is a badge of honor? You've climbed to the top while ignoring the people you stepped on. As those words landed heavy in the air, Jack felt a pang. They hit hard, provoking memories he had kept buried. His rise to success had left scars he wouldn't show. But the children were different. They had endured far worse, yet here they were, standing strong. I'm not going to ignore them or use them as a stepping stone, Jack said, grasping at the half-formed energy dancing within him. I'm ready to put everything on the line because they deserve love, respect, and a chance. At that moment, a wave of solidarity rippled through the onlookers. Faces once clouded by doubt began to soften. Some nodded, showing signs of connection to the fire inside Jack. But just as hope sparked in Jack's chest, Jason stepped closer, narrowing the space between them. You think you can handle this fight? You have no idea what you're getting into. You'll lose everything: wealth, status, everything. Jack felt a shiver run down his spine but pressed on. And if it means protecting them? Then so be it. The air crackled with tension, thick enough to slice. The murmurs swelled again, voices rising with curiosity. Would Jack stand his ground? Would he risk being dragged back into the mess he had left behind? As the moment teetered on a knife's edge, Jack could feel the stakes spiraling higher. He was no longer just a successful man. He was a bridge between broken lives and a chance at something hopeful. Just then, Mia tugged at his sleeve, her wide eyes searching his face. What if we actually win this? She whispered, hope piercing through the fear. Jack felt his heart swell, not just for the questions she asked, but for the belief in her voice. Then we change lives, one kid at a time. The atmosphere thickened with possibility. Was he truly ready to take the leap? But that unsettling feeling lingered, the shadow of Jason's threat still looming. What challenges lay ahead? What sacrifices would he have to make to protect the triplets? With the crowd now fully engaged, he sensed that something monumental was on the horizon. The question hung in the air, heavy and hopeful: would he rise to the occasion, or would the past drag him back into a fight he thought he had left behind? Jack's heart raced, caught in the whirlwind of emotions swirling around him. He looked into the faces of the gathered crowd, searching for strength, solidarity, anything to reinforce this moment that felt so precarious. He felt Mia's tiny hand still gripping his sleeve, her trust silently urging him forward. Jason, ever the thorn, stepped back, analyzing the shift in the crowd's energy. You're inspiring these people with your flashy talk, Jack. But when push comes to shove, we all know it's a dog-eat-dog world. What do you really have to offer? The air thickened again. The crowd's murmurs died down, leaving an unsettling silence that seemed to stretch on forever. Jack felt the weight of expectation bearing down on him. Then, he took a step forward, drawing in a breath that filled his lungs like a flame igniting. Look around you. These kids live in a world where their hopes are often crushed before they even get a chance to form. I was in their shoes once. I know what it feels like to be left behind. His voice cracked, but he held it steady. I've made mistakes. Lots of them. But I refuse to let these kids become just another statistic. They deserve a chance to thrive, not just survive. Cheers erupted from the crowd, a swell of voices echoing his conviction. Jack felt a stirring in his chest, fueled by their hope and belief. But would it be enough against the cold voices of doubt whispering in his ear? Jason paused, a glint of uncertainty shadowing his confidence. For a fleeting moment, Jack caught a glimpse of fear in Jason's eyes, and it emboldened him. And what about you, Jason? Jack challenged. What have you done lately that really matters? When was the last time you put someone else's needs before your own? Jason clenched his jaw, his silence louder than any argument he could muster. The air was electric, the crowd now buzzing with anticipation, waiting to see who would falter first in this dance of wills. Suddenly, Mia stepped forward, her small yet fierce presence commanding attention. "We don't need to fight. We just want to be heard. We want someone to believe in us." Her voice rang out, innocent yet powerful. Across the crowd, faces softened. Jack could see the flicker of understanding. He turned to Mia, kneeling so they were eye to eye. "You're right, Mia. It's about believing in each other." By the way her eyes shone, he sensed that this moment transcended the confrontation with Jason. It was a revelation, a shared purpose igniting a collective spirit. But Jason wasn't done yet. He straightened, forcing a cruel smile. "This is all well and good, but when the dust settles, you'll still be alone in this fight. You think people will rally behind a billionaire trying to change his past?" Jack could sense the doubt lingering in the whispers around him. Yet, together with Mia and the growing enthusiasm of the crowd, he felt the fire within him grow stronger. "I may have money, but that doesn't define me," Jack retorted, determination sweeping through him. "What matters is the commitment to change lives, not just mine, but theirs. And that will bring people together." Jason raised an eyebrow, gauging the crowd. "So what's your plan, Jack? How will you really turn this around?" Jack straightened, heart pounding, the crystallizing nature of his vision dawning on him. "We'll build a community. We'll create programs for these kids' education, support, mentorship. And I won't do it alone. We'll gather everyone willing to help. Everyone." As he spoke, the tide of energy in the room shifted. People began to murmur agreement, nodding heads reaffirming the heartbeat of unity forming among them. Jason, now shadowed by uncertainty, stepped back a pace. The resolve in Jack's voice was beginning to ripple through the audience in waves of hope and resolve. But just as the momentum surged, a loud crash shattered the moment, echoing off the warehouse's barren walls. Jack's heart sank as the crowd turned, confusion spreading like wildfire. What was that? Jack's voice wavered as the fear penetrated the air, an unwelcome companion to the hope that had just begun to bloom. The unease settled in, something was about to change. What had just happened? Would this challenge tear apart the fragile bond forming between Jack and the crowd, or could it be the spark that ignited real action? Jack's instinct screamed at him. He took a step towards the source of the sound, adrenaline coursing through his veins. What lay ahead? A deeper crisis? A new threat? As every heart raced, Jack sensed that the real battle was just beginning. Jack's breath hitched in his throat as the sound faded into the tense silence. A few heads turned, and concern etched itself on their faces. He could feel the knot in his stomach twist tighter. "Mia," he called softly, hoping to pull her near. He needed her strength right now, the clarity in her young eyes reminding him why he stood here. She didn't hesitate, inching closer as a flicker of fear danced across her face. The crowd seemed to thrum with uncertainty, their earlier energy now dulled. Jack scanned the warehouse, trying to find where the crash had come from. As his eyes fell upon a chipped wooden crate spilling its contents, an array of dusty toys and forgotten books, the weight of it all crashed into him. "What if we don't want to be heard?" A voice chirped from the back, cutting through the air like a knife. "What if nobody cares?" It was a teenager, shadows under her eyes hinting at a tougher life than most. Murmurs spread through the crowd like ripples in a pond. "No," Jack called out, stepping back. "We're just getting started." But he knew the truth. Doubt had seeped in. It was the very thing he fought against when speaking to the crowd, and here it was, threatening to unravel his battle before it had even begun. Jason stood a few steps behind Jack, his face a mix of amusement and skepticism. "So, this is it? Just a bunch of knocked-over boxes and broken dreams? Your plans seem a bit empty, don't they?" He tossed the words like stones, each one landing heavily. Jack felt his pulse quicken, fire igniting in his chest. "No, it's not empty," he defended, his voice gaining strength. "It's full of potential. Relationships, experiences, opportunities to connect. That's what these kids need." The crowd shifted, inching closer as curiosity pulled them. The atmosphere was still electric, but heavier now, as though waiting for thunder. Mia stood firm by Jack's side, her eyes alight with determination. "If we can fix broken toys," she said, pointing to the scattered bits on the floor, "then we can help fix lives too. Everyone deserves to feel whole again." The teenager's brows knit together as she looked between Jack and Mia, uncertainty flickering across her features. "But how? How can we trust you?" Jack felt every heart in the room hang on his next words. Trust, one of life's most fragile commodities, and yet, one he was willing to earn. "I might be a billionaire," he said quietly, "but I'm just a man who messed up. All I know is that I want to make it right. I can't do this alone. I want to show you the love and support you've been missing." Those words, so simple yet profound, had a way of resonating. He could see a shift. The crowd was whispering again, but this time, it felt different, like the winds of a storm shifting, preparing for a downpour. "Okay," the teenager said finally, crossing her arms defiantly yet intrigued. "What do we do?" Jack's heart soared. "We start right here. Together." Just then, the warehouse doors thudded open, and a figure stepped inside. Jack squinted, recognition dawning as he saw a familiar face emerge from the shadows, his estranged brother, Ray. The surprise and uncertainty in the air transformed into a collective gasp. "What's he doing here?" someone murmured. Jack's heart raced again, but this time it was more than uncertainty, it was an ache to reconcile years of distance, secrets, and pain. "Ray!" Jack called, unsure of how to bridge the gap that had grown. Would this be the turning point for him, or would it threaten everything he was trying to build? The crowd held its breath, a new tension tightening around them like a vice. What would Ray do next? Would this reveal a deeper struggle or provide the much-needed piece to their collective puzzle? The stakes had just risen, and Jack knew the real challenge was about to unfold. Ray stood at the entrance, his silhouette framed by the harsh light spilling in from outside. The surprise on his face mirrored Jack's internal storm, a mix of hope and fear. Was this a chance to mend what had been broken, or would it drive another wedge between them? "I didn't expect to see you here," Jack said, letting the sentiment hang in the air. His voice was steady, though his heart thundered in his chest. The crowd, just beginning to show signs of unity, now pulsed with curiosity and concern. Ray stepped further into the room, hands shoved deep into his pockets, as though he was holding himself together. "I wasn't sure I would either," he replied, his tone flat. A lump formed in Jack's throat. This was no ordinary family reunion. "What are you doing, Ray?" Jack ventured, his eyes never leaving his brother's face. "Why now?" "I wanted to see what you were building and who you were dragging into it," Ray said, scanning the crowd, his eyes landing briefly on Mia, who stood steadfast beside Jack. "What's all this about?" Jack took a deep breath, trying to swallow the whirlwind of memories that clung to him. "I'm trying to give these kids a place to belong. A chance to feel loved." Ray's features softened slightly, just enough for Jack to latch onto. "After everything we've been through, you actually think you can change things?" "Change starts with one step," Jack insisted. "They're just kids, Ray. They deserve hope. I can't do it without you." The desperation leaked through his calm exterior, and he felt the urgency of the situation settle over them like a heavy blanket. Jack's voice cut through the chatter as he turned back to the group, trying to refocus. "This is our chance to create something real," he said, gesturing toward the children intently watching the unfolding drama. He searched for the skeptical teenager, the one who had voiced doubt earlier. "Let's prove to ourselves that we can be better." Ray shifted uncomfortably. He had spent too many years hardened by the weight of their family's history. The silence stretched, thick with unspoken words and unaddressed pain. but then, Mia stepped forward, her eyes shining with fierce bravery. "You're not alone, Jack," she declared, drawing everyone's attention. "We want to help. We see it. We feel it. Let us be a part of this." Jack felt the impact of her words ripple through the crowd, as if a bond was being forged among them, tighter and more resilient with each passing moment. There was hope sparked not just in him but around them all. "That's what this is about," he said softly, but fervently. "Working together." The teenager, uncertainty still etched in her brows, looked at Ray, who seemed to consider her challenge. "And what do you want, Ray?" she asked, voice steady. "What's your part in this?" Ray's gaze flickered from Jack to the crowd then back again. I started off wrong. I turned away when I should have stayed." But maybe he hesitated, swallowing hard. "Maybe I can still be here now." Jack's heart surged with a mix of relief and hope. Across the room, kids began to nod, smiles breaking through the tension like sunlight through clouds. "Then let us make this work," Jack exclaimed, his voice rising with certainty. "Let us meet the broken hearts and show them they're not alone." But just as the mood began to lift, a loud crash erupted from the back corner of the warehouse. The sound sent shivers down Jack's spine, and every pair of eyes turned to find its source. "Stay here," Jack commanded, instinctively moving toward the noise, but the tension had returned, a storm gathering just as they had begun to rise. "What now?" The crowd flinched at the unexpected sound, confusion and fear rippling through their ranks. Jack felt the knot in his stomach tighten once again. What secrets were waiting to be uncovered? He paused, ready to confront anything. With Ray and all the kids watching, he knew this moment could define everything. Would they collapse under the pressure, or would they rise again together? "Let us go," he shouted, determination fueling his steps as he advanced toward the chaos. It was a challenge they couldn't run away from. And with that, the door opened to a new risk, a fragility hanging in the air, leaving everyone to wonder what lay ahead. Would they emerge stronger, or would this moment be too much for them to handle? Jack charged through the crowded warehouse, adrenaline coursing through his veins. The loud crash had come from a stack of crates, now toppled over and strewn across the floor like fallen soldiers. Dust hung in the air. The kids hesitated behind him, fear mingling with curiosity, while Ray followed closely. Jack's heart pounded, not just from being startled, but from the serious weight of every gaze on him. This was it. As he approached the wreckage, Jack's muscles tensed. He scanned the area, searching, ready for anything. A shadow darted in the corner of his eye, and he turned sharply. A small figure peeked out from the shadows, wide-eyed and trembling. It was a girl, maybe no older than 10, her clothes slightly tattered and too big. "Are you okay?" Jack knelt down, lowering his voice to a gentle whisper. The girl nodded but didn't move to get up. Instead, she kept glancing back at the mess. "Did you do this?" he asked, trying to keep the conversation light. "Not on purpose," she murmured, her voice shaky. "I was just trying to grab my book." Jack felt a swell of compassion for her instantly. "What's your name?" "Lucy," she replied, her eyes darting between Jack and the crowd gathered behind him. "Lucy, listen to me," he said, earning the attention of the kids who had come forward, curious about the commotion. "You don't need to be scared. We're all friends here, and we want to help you." Ray, still processing, stepped beside him. "Lucy, we're starting something special for kids like you. A place where you can be yourself, and no one will bully you or make you feel small." Lucy looked up, her expression softening slightly. "Really?" "Yes, really," Jack replied, offering a small smile, hoping to lift her spirits. With a nervous smile, she slowly emerged from her hiding spot, brushing dust from her jeans. She seemed hesitant but hopeful, just like so many of them. "Can I help?" she asked, her voice gaining strength. "What a great idea. Mia shouted from the back, her voice warm and inviting. We could use extra hands to tidy this place up. A ripple of excitement spread through the group. Kids who had been on the brink of worry now began to erupt in chatter, joins hands, and laughter. Jack felt the spark ignite anew, as though Lucy's small act of bravery had breathed life into their efforts. As they helped Lucy pick up the fallen crates, the chatter turned into collaborative energy. Jack looked at Ray, who was watching the scene, an almost imperceptible smile creeping across his face. Maybe this was the turnaround they needed, not just for Jack or Ray but for everyone here. But just as they began to bind their efforts into something beautiful, another figure emerged from the shadows, an older boy, maybe 15, wearing an expression of sheer defiance. He crossed his arms and spat, "What do you think you're doing?" His eyes betrayed no hint of the softness Lucy had shown. Jack felt the tension shift again, palpable and electric. "We're working on building something better for all of us," he said, his voice steady. "You can join us if you want." "Or what?" The boy sneered, stepping closer, confronting the very foundation of their fragile unity. Jack's chest tightened. He searched for words, wishing for the right thing to say to dissolve the thick wall of doubt that loomed before them. Every part of him screamed that this was another crucial moment, and the wrong move could shake everything loose. Would the boy choose division over unity? Would they rise to the occasion, or would fear pull them back once again? "Stand tall, Jack," he thought, feeling sweat trickle down his back. "You've faced worse." What he didn't know was whether this time would forge a new path, or shatter hope into a myriad of pieces. The boy stepped forward, glaring at Jack as if he were a rival in a game of nerves. Jack could hear the younger kids behind him, their whispers turning to silence. It was a moment that could easily tip into chaos. Lucy's tentative bravery felt fragile now, and Jack fought against the pressing urge to take a step back. "Why should I join you losers?" the older boy challenged, his voice sharp. "You think you can just pretend this is some happy little family?" Jack felt anger simmer under his skin. No one ever really understood how hard it was to build something from nothing. "We're not pretending," he shot back, his words finding traction. "We're trying. Everyone deserves a chance to feel safe. Haven't you ever wanted that?" A flicker of surprise crossed the boy's face, quickly masked by defiance. "This place is just a dump. You think cleaning it up will change anything?" "Maybe not everything," Jack replied carefully, trying to keep his emotions in check. "But it can change us. It can start with us." "Ah, come on, man. Let him do what he wants," one of the younger boys said, his voice only slightly steady. The older boy turned slightly, scanning the faces around him. There was a mixture of determination and uncertainty. Jack could see it in Lucy's wide eyes, in the way the younger kids edged closer, albeit hesitantly. "It's not about the dump. It's about the people," Jack pressed on, pushing through the thick air that clung to them. "Just because it's hard, doesn't mean we shouldn't try. You can be part of something bigger than yourself." For a second, the older boy hesitated. The bravado wavered, and Jack watched closely. He sensed an internal battle, one he recognized all too well. Both fear and the possibility of connection shadowed the boy's face. "Why should I trust you?" he finally muttered, glaring but with less conviction. "You're just another nobody." "Maybe," Jack replied quietly, feeling that familiar sting of doubt. "But I'm a nobody who wants to help others." "Do you really want to be the one pushing people away, or do you think maybe you'd like to be part of something that matters?" The older boy searched Jack's gaze, and for a fleeting moment, vulnerability flashed before it disappeared again behind a wall of scorn. Jack could see Lucy shifting nervously beside him. Everyone sensed the tension wrapped tight like a coil, ready to spring. Before he could weigh his options, the older boy retorted, "I don't need you." He started to walk away, but suddenly paused. "And I don't want to care about any of this." Jack's heart raced, and he realized it wasn't just about winning over the older boy, it was about every kid here fighting for something worth having. Okay, Jack said, his voice steady, you don't have to care. But know this, when this place changes, when we change, you'll be welcome if you choose to be here. With a hard stare, the boy pivoted and walked off, but the words hung like a lingering note, uncertain yet hopeful. The kids were all watching, caught in a moment of unsure possibility. Maybe we just planted a seed, Mia said softly, her eyes glimmering with hope. Jack nodded, still feeling the weight of what had just happened. Let us get back to work, everyone. More hands, more heart. As they resumed cleaning, the space started to feel lighter, filled with bubbling laughter and old worries left behind. But deep down, Jack couldn't shake the lingering question about the older boy. Would he return? Would he find that connection he so clearly craved yet fought so hard to resist? The scent of dust cleared slowly, like the fog lifting. And amidst it all, that question lingered in the air, blending with aspirations waiting to be realized. Could this turn into the transformation they all desperately needed? As the afternoon sun stretched across the battered playground, Jack inhaled deeply. The air was laced with a sense of possibility, but a weight still hung on his chest. Each swing and slide they scrubbed brought out laughter and excitement, yet his mind circled back to the older boy, the one who had so bravely challenged them. What if he didn't return? What if he was right, and this place would always just be a dump? Jack, over here. Mia called, her voice snapping him back to reality. A few of the kids were gathered around a section of the playground where the slide looked particularly ancient. It was covered in rust and splattered paint, but there was something appealing about fixing it up together. Their faces were bright, and he felt that old hope kindling again. Let us make this the best slide ever. Mia declared, grinning from ear to ear. Jack felt a spark of determination wash over him. Just this small part of the park could be their first win, a symbol of something brighter to come. As they worked, laughter turned into chatter. Stories of their favorite swings filled the air, and moments of shared childhood memories sparked camaraderie. Lucy, always the quiet observer, even began to join in more. Remember that time when she started, her voice shy but warming with each word. The kids were enraptured by her tales of summer splashes and runaway kites. Jack watched as they responded, eyes lighting up with recognition and understanding. It was beautiful to see them weaving tighter bonds around their shared experience. Then, suddenly, a rustle from nearby bushes made them all turn. Jack's heart jumped. Could it be? And there he stood, the older boy, unsure and a bit weathered. A moment hung in the air, and Jack broke the silence first. Hey! He called out, a hesitant smile creeping onto his lips. Glad to see you back. The older boy shifted his weight from foot to foot, his bravado dulled, replaced with a hint of curiosity. I was just passing by, he muttered, his eyes darting nervously. Jack noticed the kids around him stilled, some glancing at each other, whispering a mix of surprise and anticipation. Come check this out, Jack encouraged, nodding at the slide they were revitalizing. We're making this place better. You can help us. The older boy hesitated, eyeing the half-finished project. There was a flicker of interest behind his guarded expression. Jack couldn't tell if it was surprise, disappointment, or maybe even an inkling of hope. It was also clear that he wasn't quite ready to commit. For what? He asked flatly, crossing his arms. It's just a slide. Jack stepped closer, his voice earnest. It's more than just a slide. It's south about this place and what it means to us. You could be part of something real, you know. A soft hum of excitement bubbled behind Jack. The younger kids were watching, their big eyes considering this newcomer. Jack caught Lucy's gaze. She looked hopeful, ready for a friend to emerge from his shell. Look, the older boy started, his voice almost cracking. I don't belong here. You guys you're a team. And before he could finish, another kid shouted, you can belong. We all want to belong. The chant began to ripple through the group, a rising tide of encouragement that lifted everyone, even Jack. Suddenly, with a deep breath, the older boy stepped forward into the circle. What could this mean? Could he finally feel the warmth of acceptance, the connection they all thrived for? Jack felt the air shimmer with tension and potential. This moment could change everything, and as he looked into the older boy's eyes, he could almost see the frail edges of doubt starting to soften. Would he reach out and find his place among them? Would he truly take the leap? As silence fell, Jack could almost hear the heartbeat of the park, waiting for the answer. In that instant, the future seemed full of promise. But would they welcome him as he was, or would old fears and insecurities hold him back? Jack stood there, heart pounding as the crowd shifted with anticipation. The older boy, with a hesitant step closer, looked around. Vulnerability flickered in his eyes. It was palpable. The moment felt electric, a raw pause filled with possibilities. "Join us," Jack urged softly. "We need all the voices we can get." There was sincerity in his tone. It's not about perfection, it's about community. It's about belonging. The older boy's gaze flickered from Jack to the excited faces of the younger kids, each one radiating hope and longing for something greater. "But I haven't even tried," he said, his voice cracking. "You're here now," Mia chimed in, stepping forward. "And that's what matters. Everyone makes mistakes. But together, we can learn and fix things. You can still join us." Her words came out bright and warm, a lifeline thrown into turbulent water. Jack watched as the boy's facade began to crack, his defenses wavering. The echo of Mia's belief in their shared vision seemed to resonate. Suddenly, an idea bloomed in Jack's mind. "What's your name?" he asked. "Eric," the older boy replied, his shoulders sagging slightly, almost as if admitting a defeat of sorts. "All right, Eric," Jack extended a hand, palm open. "Let's turn this dump back into a community space together. You can show us how it's done. Your ideas matter." Out in the warehouse, the once lost pieces of broken toys and rusted swings symbolized not only the struggles of these kids but also their potential for transformation. Eric's eyes darted between Jack's outstretched hand and the eager faces of Mia, Lucy, and their peers. For a second, uncertainty ruled. Then, to Jack's surprise, Eric's clenched fists relaxed. With a slow, deliberate motion, he took a step forward and reached out to grasp Jack's hand. "I'll give it a shot," Eric declared, newfound determination igniting in his voice. Cheers erupted. The weight of 1,000 doubts lifted in that moment, the once tentative air broke open like the sun after a storm, filling the playground with energy. Smiles lit up faces, and laughter bounced off the walls that had held so much sorrow. "What should we fix first?" someone shouted, and a chorus of ideas followed. Together, they painted the slide, beautified forgotten benches, and created a mural that celebrated their journey. They infused every corner with laughter, resilience, and camaraderie. Jack could hardly believe it. In each stroke of paint and shared giggle, he felt the void in his heart turn into something warm, something whole. Ray, witnessing Jack's transformation, joined the effort, releasing years of tension and forging a connection with his brother. Together, they created not just a place for the kids to gather, but a space for healing, a place where each child felt they belonged. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow, Jack surveyed the scene before him. Each child radiated a sense of belonging, a sense of home that illuminated the way they stood side by side. Even Eric, now elbow-deep in paint, wore a bright smile. "Jack!" Mia's excited voice pulled him from his thoughts. "Look! We did it!" She gestured at the newly transformed playground, their hard work shining in the twilight. Jack grinned, his heart swelling with pride. "We did it together." He beamed. He turned to the crowd, the energy buzzing around them. "Let this be a reminder that no matter how broken we all feel sometimes, we have the power to come together. We're a family now." With murmurs of agreement, they gathered for a group photo capturing not just a moment, but the spirit of what they were building. The camera clicked, freezing time and sealing the memory of strength, hope, and unity. In that moment, Jack realized embracing community pushed away the hollow feelings of loneliness he had carried for years. He understood now that wealth meant nothing without connection. Later that night, as he took time to reflect, Jack thought of all the kids he had met, each with their own battles, their own stories. Families didn't just form through blood, they formed through shared trials and triumphs. And with every moment, he felt stronger. As for the triplets and their newfound friends, they proved themselves to be warriors of change. Jack knew the battle had just begun. He was ready for it, willing to stand tall, hand in hand with those who chose to rise with him, and in the end, they weren't the only ones taking the leap, he had too. Now, dear friends, the time has come for you to step up. You need to subscribe now to keep up with these amazing transformations and exclusive stories. Don't wait not even one more second to share this journey with at least 5 friends who need hope. Leave a like now to help us reach even more people who deserve to feel inspired. And comment your thoughts and emotions about this ending. Let us know how you feel. Your voice matters, and together, we can keep this beautiful story moving forward.